Awesome. Mr. Knuckles to Knives, how are you doing?
You're headlining Fight Night Barrie, taking on Aric Mercado, August 15th, main event. How's training camp been for this fight?
Training camp's been good. Just, like every other single one. It was not a lot of time to prep. It was about, I think, 5 weeks or just under. But I stay in shape pretty much always in shape, to be honest. And so I didn't really need a lot of time. But yeah, I feel good. I'm glad camp's over now. I went hard right when I got the word. I went hard at it, and it's been over a month of hard training. So I'm feeling it, and I'm looking forward to being done with the camp and getting in there and just fighting.
Hmm. How much do you know about Aric Mercado?
Um, Not a lot. I didn't really know much about him before this name was mentioned. I watched some of his stuff. He's very tall for the division. He's like 5'11", and he's southpaw. And from the looks of it, looks like he's got good jits. Looks like his striking, it's decent, very awkward. Um, and yeah, it looks like he's a gamer. He'll bring it. He'll probably be pretty chaotic, I think, early on, especially. But yeah, looks like a fun fight.
Do you like to study your opponent, or do you usually leave that up to your coaches?
I don't get too in depth. I'm not one of those guys that sits there and breaks down every single thing. I don't. I think you start overthinking it when you do that. But I do watch a bit. I'll get a glimpse of his body's his body type, his style, just things like that, so I can start implementing and practice them and trying to do my sparring with taller guys and trying to get some southpaws and so yeah, just things like that I can just kind of practice and try to implement some things I want to use in the fight.
Where have you been training for this fight?
Um, I mostly go to like three gyms. My gym, Vision Quest, it's in Binbrook. Niagara Top Team, which is in St. Kitts, and Aegis MMA, which is in Oakville. So
Good.
between the three, we get lots of good training with all the coaches and all the guys.
I did want to ask you about your gym. I know you have Vision Quest MMA out in Benbrook. You want to just let the fans know like where they could find your gym?
Yeah, it's in Binbrook. Most people don't know where that is. It's like outskirts of Hamilton. It's part of Hamilton. But yeah, we've been there for 10 years now. It's a small gym. We have some fighters come out of there, but more so recreational. But yeah, me and Scott and Gino were the owners, and yeah, I mean it's just it's our nice little spot, our little home, and yeah, man, it's we've like I said, I've had a couple of fighters come out of there. We've had a couple more guys now that have done some amateur stuff, and they're starting to get the itch, I think, and they like it. So we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, it's a fun little spot.
What do you think Eric's biggest weakness is?
His biggest weakness, I would say, like, as far as like technical standpoints, probably his wrestling from what I've seen. I think he's one of those guys that he's down to throw on the feet and he's awkward. And then his jiu-jitsu is his one of his better strong suits. So yeah, I would probably say that the wrestling.
Hmm. Well, you've competed under many big promotions. I believe last December 2025, you took a fight on short notice out in Europe uh, under the FNC promotion. You took on Miljan Zdrakovic. What was that experience like? Have you ever been to the Balkans before?
Yeah, I have. It was awesome, a great experience. Yeah, FNC is a great promotion. I'm still signed with them. Haven't been able to get me any fights, and then they took the summer off, July and August, so that's why I'm not getting any younger. So I just wanted to fight and get something in. So that's how this fight came up. And yeah, the fight was good. It was 5 rounds for the title out there against their champ. Won all five. It was a close fight. I thought I did enough to get the decision, but I knew going out there if I didn't dominate, then I'm not going to get no close calls, right? So, but it was a fun fight. Kid was good. Definitely got a bright future. The fans were amazing. Show was amazing. Got to go check out Montenegro, and while we were down there, went and checked out Croatia. Stayed a couple days. Yeah, man, I want to go back for sure. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I'm actually from that region. I was born in that region. Just wonder like what that experience like if you've ever been there. So you said that was your first time out there?
Uh, like that part, yeah, I've had a fight in Slovakia before. I know that's not as
Oh wow.
close, but yeah, out there, I've been everywhere out there. I fought in Russia. I've been out there twice. I fought in Romania, Slovakia, Montenegro, and then while I was out in those places, I got to check out some other countries too. So that's like one of the biggest things for me is like obviously I want to fight and make the most money possible for sure, but also getting to check out cool places and countries. I love that shit, man. So anytime I get a chance to go somewhere that I probably wouldn't go, normally, I'm all for it.
How many more fights you got with FNC?
I still have three more. Believe if I can remember.
Oh
I
wow.
think we did a 4 fight deal, but yeah, they like I said, they didn't give me anything the first half of the year. I was asking for something, but I don't know. They just haven't. Then they said July and August they're not doing shows, so I would have to wait till at least September to hopefully get something. And I'm going to be 40 at the end of this year, and clock's ticking, and I just want to get fights in and enjoy this last little part of my career.
Of course. I'm sure you get this question a lot, but I've never asked you. This is our first time talking, so I am curious. I've known about you for a long time. I know your cousin Brendan. I pretty well grew up with Brendan, so I do want to ask you. I know you've fought the most highest competition. Who would you say has been your toughest opponent?
Um, my toughest opponent, like I mean, I gotta go with Marlon. You know what I mean? Marlon Moraes. Just 'cause, we had 2 fights. The first fight was and I also fought Marlon when he was a killer. Before his
Yeah,
decline, and he was wrecking everybody. And yeah, our first fight was a war and 5 rounds, and it was a close one. If you looked at us, you would think I won the fight, but I lost the decision. The second fight was going great too, and then he caught me, and he's the only one to ever finish me. And so yeah, Marlon's a hell of a fighter in his prime. He was top notch, so that was probably my toughest.
yeah. Marlon's an absolute beast. How did you get the nickname the Gentleman?
So that comes from my great uncle, my grandpa's brother was a pro wrestler, and wrestled all over the world, many different names and gimmicks. But at one point he was in the WWF back then, now the WWE, and he was a tag team champ, in a group called the Valiant Brothers, and he was Gentleman Jerry Valiant. So that's kind of
Oh wow.
yeah. So that's where that came from. I think it was my uncle or my dad. I can't remember which one said like you should go as Gentleman Josh. He'll like kind of along those lines, and it just stuck. And yeah, man. So it was pretty cool that he had long.
Yeah, that's cool. I thought you were just gonna say, just because you're generally just a nice guy, But that's a that's an even cooler story.
I hope to think that too, but yeah, yeah, it does come from that as well. So it's pretty cool, yeah. Like I know it's not pro wrestling, but like to do something along those lines, and kind of carry that on.
Yeah, of course. What do you think has been the biggest lesson you've learned throughout your career?
Um, biggest lesson in my career, there's been many. I would say just enjoy it more while you're in it. Earlier in my career, I worried so much about like the fear of failure and what people thought, and thinking about the future too much, I guess, and not enjoying it while I was in it. And it wasn't until probably the second half of my career where I kind of started to figure that out. But yeah, just because just being younger, you don't really think about that kind of thing. So I would say, yeah, that just enjoy the process, and it's not. I know as cliche as it sounds, but those like days where you've just finished training, you're exhausted, and you're hanging with the boys afterwards and shooting the shit. Those are the things that you're gonna miss the most, really, much more than the titles and things like that. So, yeah, I would say that just enjoy those times, the little times, because they go by so fast. I remember Adrian Woolley, my wrestling coach, and he was a former fighter as well, and he was the older guy when I was coming up, and him telling me like, it goes by so fast in a blink of an eye. Like, and you hear that a lot from older people, right? But you don't really think about it. And he was right. It does go by fast, man. So enjoy it while you can.
Is that how it's felt for you? It's just been so fast.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I'm gonna be 40 at the end of the year, and like I remember being the 23-year-old, 22-year-old youngster in the room with all the guys that have been fighting for years, and I was the young up and comer. So now, I'm training. I got a whole bunch of guys that are in their, mid 20s that are, you know, on the rise, and now I'm the vet of the group, and so yeah, it does go very fast.
So I gotta ask, you were part of season 18 of the Ultimate Fighter, Team Rousey versus Team Tate. Talk about that a little bit if you don't mind. What was it like walking in that house for the very first time?
It was a really cool experience, man. I like everybody watched The Ultimate Fighter when it first came out, and I watched it for I don't know the first probably 5, 6 seasons, and then I kind of stopped. But um, it was really cool, yeah, to actually think I'm gonna be on this show that I grew up watching, and um, yeah, it was really really fun. I mean, do I wish I went about it a different way, like as far as like getting signed wise? Maybe the Ultimate Fighter is a tough route for sure. Now you got the Contender Series, which is another tough route for sure, but at least it's only one fight and you're not on a reality show. Um, or just getting signed outright is the best for sure, and bypassing all that. But and it was the first season they had girls, so the girls were kind of the center focus on that season. So the guys kind of took a backseat to it, but overall it was a really cool experience and really really fun.
Canadian MMA has produced so many great fighters over the years. Where do you think the sport is today in Canada compared to when you first started?
Um, I I still think like geographically we're kind of at a disadvantage as far as getting opportunities wise. Like guys in the States, like there's so many different promotions and whatnot, and you get more looks on you. But Canada is it's still great, and it's producing great fighters, and there's so many good guys now at such a young age, right? I think that's across the board everywhere. But I don't know. There was a time there. Maybe it's just me, but like it seemed like MMA, especially in Canada, it was a hotbed here in Canada for a while. And I don't know if it's been like just maybe people don't really watch it as much anymore. Or there's too much of it and they can't keep up, and it's just not as exciting for them anymore. Maybe that's just the sport in general, but it seems it's kind of like maybe it's peaks and valleys, and we're at that valley right now but there's a lot of good fighters, and I train with a lot of them, and yeah, man, it's as far as like producing fighters, it's going very well. Let's just hope it kind of comes back to that point of where it was like super exciting, and yeah, it was like a hotbed here in Canada.
What advice would you give to young Canadian fighters trying to make it to the next level?
Um, I would say, you know, constant progression as far as the people that your opponents wise. I think so many guys now, they just want to beat up cans, just bums constantly. And they want to get to like, 9, 9, 10 and 0, and have fought nobody. And I think you should just kind of do a steady progression of opponent caliber. You know what I mean? And obviously, you got to build up your guy in the early stages and get him fights and get him wins and experience, build his confidence. But I'm still seeing guys that have good records and a pretty fair amount of fights, and they're still trying to beat up cans. And so yeah, just constant progression and test yourself. Because you also don't want to be that guy that when you finally get in there with a high world class guy, you fold, or you get embarrassed, right? So you got to kind of build yourself up to that. Um, and yeah, and just I mean nowadays it's about like social media and following and things like that, and branding and all that bullshit that comes with it. Unfortunately, but it's the just kind of how the world is now, so it's a necessity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I seen you are part of the matchmaking team for BTC promotion. Is that correct?
Yep, yep, that's true.
How did that opportunity come about, and are you liking that?
Yeah, so I was a commentator for a long time. I've been doing that for a while, and I love doing that for them. And they asked me if I wanted to be matchmaker, and I said no because I know how tiring of a job it is, man. You're just constantly, you know, on the phone, texting, talking to people, reaching out, and it's just, it sounds like an easy gig, but it's not, and it's a lot of headaches. So then they said, what if you did it with on a team with Jason and Adam? And I said, yeah, that I would do because it's not solely on me, but I can contribute and help put cards together. That's cool. So that's what we're doing. It's like I said, it's can be fulfilling for sure. And then it also can be very draining and and annoying, especially when fights fall through and things like that. So, but yeah, that's one aspect of the game that I'm part of, and then there's coaching, which I still do a bit, and then there's managing fighters, which I do, and then myself still fighting. So I am engaged in MMA in every aspect right now.
Do you still watch the UFC?
Yep, yep. I like I said, it's hard to follow and keep up to date with all the guys. I do my best to do it, and I'm a fight fan and always will be. So I'll always watch fights. I just enjoy watching good fights, right? So, yeah, I still do. I watch, I'll watch whatever fights. I'll watch the PFL and UFC, and I mean that's I know one's still kicking, but you don't really get to see them often. So it is hard to watch anything else. But and then as far as regional MMA, I would watch it. It just you just don't have the time, so it's hard to keep up even with the big leagues. So
Which fighters do you like really enjoy watching right now in the UFC?
uh even though he's coming off that loss, I still think Ilya Taporia is probably in my opinion, the just the best, most well-rounded fighter out there right now. I mean, you got to hand it to Gaethje just because his toughness and durability is what, and his will, just that's what won him that fight, and he was able to push through it and put it on Topuria. But yeah, Gaethje's always he's a fan favorite. Everybody likes watching him fight. I'm a huge fan of Peter Yan. My weight class. So
Oh yeah,
yeah, especially the way his last fight or two, that especially the last one against Marab, he just thought he looked sensational. Really, really good. I love
yeah,
his style, and yeah, I'm a huge fan.
yeah. I love that style. Peter Yan's an absolute beast, and yeah, he put on such a great performance against Marab. A lot of people were counting out Peter just because Marab had already beat him once, but it's like, Peter definitely studied him and knew what to do in that second fight.
Yeah, yeah. I going into that, I picked Jan to win that one. I thought he would make the adjustments and be able to put it
Oh
on
wow.
him, and I thought he'd be able to finish him, but Marab's tough and so durable, right? So
Yeah, that's the machine, man. That's one guy that's gonna be hard to finish for sure. Um, so I do have to ask you, I do a lot of content for the BKFC, bare knuckle fighting. Do you pay attention to the BKFC at all?
I don't follow it like extensively. I will watch fights if I see it. If I see it on for sure. If I see highlights, I'll watch it. Um, yeah, it's it's brutal. It's brutal, man. I thought about doing it. It would have to be a good paycheck to be honest to get in there because two things. One, you're getting no matter what you're getting split open for sure. And also I just don't know if my hand would hold up in there. Broken my hand a few times, and I just don't know if it would hold up with not being no glove or wrap on it really. So, but I would
Yeah.
do bare knuckle MMA before I do bare knuckle boxing for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Okay. Yeah, well, I gotta say that is definitely a big problem that the guys are running into with bare knuckle. It's just their hands are breaking every time,
Yeah.
And but you do have Gamebred, Jorge
Yeah.
Masvidal's promotion, who does bare knuckle MMA. So you would be interested in that, you're saying?
I would, yeah. A buddy of mine has fought for them, Jesse Ronson. And yeah, so that's one like at least there. It's like I'm not forced to strictly use only my hands, right? So I can kick, I can elbow, I can knee, I can grapple, I can wrestle, things like that. Where it changes it, but and it would probably be easier for submissions too without gloves on. So I think that would be cool.
Mm. I'd love to see you in there, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. Do you ever think about how much longer you want to keep fighting?
Yep. When I was younger, when I was like 25, I remember people always ask me that, and I was like, "Oh, 35, I'll probably stop." And once you get to in your 30s, like, "Oh no, what was I thinking?" But I don't know. I said 40 would probably be it, and it's I'm very close to being done. I just want to get a couple more in here and just kind of enjoy it because like I said, it's gonna be gone. I'm gonna miss even the shitty stuff that I hate doing. When I'm like how I'm feeling sometimes at the end of training camp. It's you'll miss that feeling even. You miss the feeling of being tired. You miss the biggest thing I think is you're gonna miss the target and having a goal that you're striving to. And I think that's where fighters have a lot of trouble, myself included. It's like, for me, it's been what, 17 years that I've had a date and a target. Okay, I'm fighting in March, I'm fighting in November, I'm fighting here. I can look forward to that. Or it's like I'm on a mission to get to this or get to that. And then once you're at that point where it's done, it's like, where's my focus and energy and passion go now, right? And um, I'm a dad, so I put a lot of passion and focus into that. But it's a different type of focus. It's something as like an occupation where now it's an occupation, but it's a passion. So you got to try and find something else that fulfills that. And there's not many things that can really replicate winning a fight and getting paid for it.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure, man. Especially when you've been doing it for so long, right?
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, what do you hope people remember most about you?
As a fighter,
Yes.
um, I hope they remember that I was a super athletic, cerebral, well-rounded, very, tough for anybody to get in there with anywhere, anyone in the world, and just a very world-class fighter. I guess that's it. At one point, the best in Canada and amongst the best in the world, and yeah, just guy was good. He was tough. That's pretty much it, right? Everybody, I mean, what else could you really ask for? Really, everybody, you get forgotten about. Everybody does eventually. There's always guys coming up that take your spot, and it just keeps going and going and going. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all you could really ask for.
How do you envision this fight going against Aric Mercado? Do you have a prediction for us?
Uh, it's hard to give predictions, and I think he's gonna come out pretty aggressive, and he's gonna try to be chaotic. Um, and I just got to play my game with that. I think I can beat him anywhere this fight goes, and I think I can dictate where this fight goes. So I want the knockout though. I could see me getting that. I could see me connecting flush with him, and I have power at 35, and I think my speed and athleticism will be hard for him to deal with too, and my timing. That's one of the things, and especially as you get older, you have to be more efficient with is your timing, and I think when I time something right with him, it could lead to a finish.
So before we wrap this up, I always want to ask if you want to shout out any sponsors or give a message to your fans.
Um, yeah, just for this one, sponsor wise, Kapski, Wealth Management. Mike, he's been supporting me for a while. He's a great dude, and then Chains Over Razors, as a band out in the States, they just hit me up one day and they liked watching me fight, and they've been always sponsor me every fight since. So they're super cool dudes, and yeah, I check them out, check their music out. They're great. And just for my gyms, Niagara Top Team, Aegis MMA, Vision Quest, all my coaches and training partners and family, friends. That's about it, man.
Amazing, man. Josh, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Mercado versus Hill, August 15th, Fight Night Barrie. For everyone watching, be sure to grab your tickets at fightnightbarrie.ca, and we'll see you at the fights, man.
Knuckles and knives, and we out, baby.